Hello there folks, Kirk here with Kirk Giordano Plastering. My son Jason Giordano doing the video as usual. He does the tech stuff. Today what we're going to do is kind of an intricate, interesting thing. We have a stress crack here. You can see here it's been patched many times. It goes all the way through the travertine tile and goes up the side of the wall here. It's pretty deep here. It's been fixed a couple times, but you can stick, I'd say it's about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 inch thick. What they originally want to do is just caulk it and fix it. So I said a better idea would be to put a expansion joint in there. This guy here, I brought several. This is about 1/2 inch grounds, and then the typical ones are about 7/8 to 3/4 inch grounds, which means I already know this because I've installed thousands of feet of this stuff. The stucco on here is about roughly, it should be 7/8, but it could be 3/4. The stucco on this retaining wall more than likely is 1/2 inch, so I brought both just in case. And what we're going to do is I'm going to break out pretty much where this line is. I'm going to install this expansion joint, and the only thing you're going to see is the metal front right here. The flange is where I can nail it into the wood here and nail it into the concrete here. What that will do is allow this wall to contract separately from the retaining wall. Will it stop all the cracks? No, it's not going to stop all the cracks. If they had engineered this walkway with rebar and concrete, you wouldn't have this, but most folks won't do that anyway. It's one of those things I see often where houses are connected to driveways or houses are connected to garages. It's not accounted for as far as the structural. So we're going to install this guy on here and as well as that side here. Let's see, Jay, if you could show this crack down here. It's pretty substantial. What we got here is, this crack is huge. And again, by installing the expansion joints, and I'm going to follow the line here, I want to try to make it cosmetically as attractive as possible. You can only do so much with this kind of work here. To fill this in with caulking, as they wanted to do, it will return within 6 months to a year. To put an expansion here, that's more of a long-term thing where that should give the building and the retaining wall a little bit of give. So that's why they call it an expansion joint, so it can expand. Anyhow, we're going to go ahead and break this out right here, and we're going to install that. I'll install it, maybe show you a quick thing of how that's supposed to go, and then we're just going to go ahead and cement it up. This is a 2-coat system. Santa Barbara smooth mission finish is the style, but I can tell it's only 2 coats here. So when I install that, I'll go ahead and match the texture and get it ready for these guys to paint, because they've already hired a fellow to come here and paint the entire house. So when I get to that stage, I'll show you that. Okay folks, my suspicions were accurate this time. I thought that was concrete. So what I've done is I nailed this one side and I used tie wire with little nippers to tie it on the wire here. I'm surprised they had wire, but it just shows this was built really well. Okay, now this expansion joint here, we want it straight. We want it to match here, and of course I'm going to level it just to be on the safe side. That guy is pretty straight. Then when we put our stucco, we want it also to come around and curve and come right into this guy. So this is done real well. So now that when I go ahead and stucco it and feather it all in real well, you're not going to notice it except for just the expansion right where it's necessary. The other side is the same thing. Alright guys, we're at a stage now where both coats are done. I put luminite in my cement to harden it quickly. Of course the other side's in the shade, it's nowhere near ready. But this, again, because this is a smooth finish and we're going over, we're using premium cement with a lot of sand, you float it in like this. You float it, you get your joint real clean. You get the joints very clean, and the final step to all of this is, and of course I embedded this guy, so you're not going to be able to see the edges, you just see the center. Now, last stage I'm going to do is put some finish over it. Now this finish here, it's called Santa Barbara. It's a smooth mission finish. It has very little aggregate. And Aggregate's just a fancy name for sand. So this has very little aggregate, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cover this, and yeah, I'm going to fill that hole, but I'll dig it out afterwards. Just like that. Just like that. See, I could trowel this down a lot tighter than I can do just a regular scratch and brown. That way, when they paint this, it'll blend in a lot tighter. Just like that. And even get a little bit on this bullnose edge. And what I'm doing here is I'm going to let that set up for 10 minutes. And of course, where my vent is, I'll clean that out. I got an idea where it is, and if I miss it, not a big deal. I'll just keep going up and down, and if I miss that vent over to here, I'll just retrowel it. So again, this is almost complete here. All I got to do is feather this edge in here and feather that edge in, and go over it a couple more times. I'll show you the completion when I'm done. Then we're done with this guy. Okay, guys, there you have it. I use these little cheap brushes to go right along the inside of there, get a nice clean finish. He's actually going to tear this up right here, this crack, and put a channel in here, so I didn't need to be that neat, but figured I'd better be anyway. I use Santa Barbara, which has got the least amount of aggregate, as I said, and I don't know if the camera will show this, but this is pretty smooth because they originally used Santa Barbara, then they painted it a couple times, so it smooths it out just a bit more. So I'm going to tell the painter when he does this to prime this twice, and that way it'll smooth it in like this. But later I'm going to come back to and trowel it just a little tighter. It's still wet here. Anyway, that's the proper way to do an expansion joint. Now granted, it's always better to do it before you do it, but sometimes we don't always have that luxury. Anyway, this is Kirk with Kirk Giordano Plastering. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Jay, for doing the video, and we'll see you on the next one.